Americans throw away roughly a third of the food we buy. Most of it rots in a landfill, sealed off from oxygen, quietly belching methane. Meanwhile, we drive to the garden center and pay $20 for a bag of nutrients we just threw in the trash. There's a fix, and it's older than the country itself. You bury it. But not everything, and not the way the internet tells you. Let's get into it. Before we hit number one, understand what's actually happening underground, because this is where 90% of gardening advice goes off the rails. When you bury a banana peel, your plant does not eat it. Plants can't absorb a banana peel any more than you can absorb a steak by taping it to your arm. Plants take up nutrients as dissolved ions in soil water, potassium as K+, nitrogen as nitrate or ammonium. And in a fresh scrap, those minerals are locked inside cell walls, bound up in pectin and cellulose and lignin. Something has to unlock them. That something is a living workforce: bacteria, fungi, earthworms, and every other decomposer in your dirt. They take the scrap apart, and only then do the nutrients become available. That process has a name. It's called trench composting, and it's a real documented method, not a hack somebody invented for engagement. University extension programs teach it. Nebraska Extension calls it pit composting or soil incorporation composting, and describes it as one of the simplest ways to handle small amounts of food waste. The University of Florida's Extension Service spells out the recipe in one sentence. Dig a trench about 8 inches deep, fill it with about 4 inches of kitchen scraps, and backfill with soil. Here's why burying beats a pile for a lot of people. No bin, no turning, no stink, no raccoons. The soil around the scraps grabs the nitrogen as it's released instead of letting it gas off into the air, and the whole thing happens right where the roots are. It also keeps working in winter. Soil a foot down stays warmer than the air. And freeze, thaw cycles physically rupture cell walls, which speeds everything up. Come spring. The trade-off? Time. Weeks to months, not overnight. Anybody promising you an instant miracle is selling something. So, the 11 scraps that are genuinely worth burying, and what actually happens when you do. Number 1. Coffee grounds. If you only bury one thing on this list, make it this one. Spent coffee grounds run about 1 to 2% nitrogen by weight, according to Oregon State University Extension, plus small amounts of potassium, phosphorus, calcium, and magnesium, and traces of iron, copper, manganese, and zinc. Their carbon to nitrogen ratio can be as tight as 11 to 1, which is nearly perfect decomposer food. They're already ground to a fine texture, so there's enormous surface area for microbes to attack, which is why buried grounds vanish faster than almost anything else in your kitchen. But here's the part the hack videos skip. Oregon State University is explicit. Coffee grounds are not a major source of plant nutrition. The real payoff is soil structure and drainage, the organic matter, the crumb, the water-holding capacity. That's the win, and there's a catch. Dump a heavy layer of fresh ground straight onto soil, and you can cause problems. As microbes multiply to break them down, they temporarily tie up available nitrogen, meaning your plants get less in the short run, not more. Caffeine residues can also suppress seed germination and stunt growth in some species. Fresh grounds have been shown to be phytotoxic to a variety of plants. Do it right. Work grounds a few inches down into the soil rather than crusting them on the surface. Keep the layer thin and pair them with something else nitrogen-rich if you're using a lot. Don't sow seeds directly into a fresh coffee zone. Bonus: Oregon State University also found brewed coffee is a legitimate slug killer. A 1 to 2% caffeine drench drove slugs out of treated soil and killed them. A 2% solution wiped out 95% of snails on orchid media, outperforming a common metaldehyde bait. Note that's liquid coffee, not the grounds. There's no published evidence the grounds themselves repel anything. And no, They won't acidify your soil. Most of the acid ends up in your cup. Number 2, eggshells. Eggshells are about 95 to 98% calcium carbonate, chemically the same active ingredient as agricultural lime. So the theory looks bulletproof. It isn't. Toss a handful of cracked shells around your tomatoes, and you can come back a year later and find them sitting there, still recognizable. Illinois Extension puts the breakdown timeline at 1 to 5 years and notes that even crushed shells may not be available to plants in any useful window. Alabama Cooperative Extension compared coarsely crushed shells to finely ground powder and found the coarse stuff was barely better than nothing at all. Now the bigger myth. The reason most people bury shells is blossom end rot, that sunken black patch on the bottom of a tomato. And yes, that's a calcium problem in the fruit. But the University of Minnesota Extension is blunt about it. Most garden soils already have plenty of calcium. Blossom end rot is almost never a soil shortage. It's a transport problem. Calcium only enters through actively growing root tips and moves with water via transpiration. Inconsistent watering, root damage, or an overload of competing ions like magnesium or ammonium chokes the delivery route. A tomato plant can want 2 to 3 gallons a week. Erratic watering is the culprit, and no amount of eggshell fixes that. Do it right. Dry the shells, then grind them to an actual powder in a coffee grinder or blender. Powder has the surface area to be attacked by soil acids and microbes in months instead of years. Bury it. And if you want fruit without black bottoms, mulch 2 to 3 inches deep and water on a schedule. What eggshells do deliver, honestly? Organic material, a slow trickle of trace minerals, and one less thing in the landfill. Number 3, banana peels. Time for the internet's favorite garden lie. You've seen the graphic, banana peels, NPK 0, 25, 42. Every version of it is nonsense. No plant material on Earth contains literally 0 nitrogen, and nothing organic is 42% potassium. The number got copied from post to post until it became folklore. What peels actually contain: a modest amount of potassium plus some calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and trace elements. Real nutrients, real, modest, and again, locked inside cell structure. This kills the 2 most viral versions of the hack. Banana peel water, where you soak peels in a mason jar for a day and pour the brown liquid on your tomatoes, doesn't work because cellulose, lignin, pectin, and most of the potassium simply don't dissolve into cold water in 24 hours. You're watering with faintly banana-scented water, and burying a whole raw peel next to a houseplant doesn't work either because peels are slow to break down and the payoff is negligible on that timescale. You mostly get a black mush and a fruit fly convention. There's a subtler issue too. The idea that plants are starved for potassium is usually wrong. Most home garden soil that's seen compost, manure, or mulch in the last few years already has adequate or excessive potassium. Washington State University Extension's guidance is to not amend with single nutrient sources without testing first, because piling on potassium creates ion competition that can actually reduce your plant's uptake of calcium and magnesium. You can make things worse. Do it right. Chop the peel into small pieces and bury it deep, 10 to 12 inches, in a resting bed, and let the decomposers do the conversion over a season. Or dry the peels and grind them into a powder before burying. Small pieces, deep, patient. That's the whole trick. Buried right, peels are a fine ingredient. They are not a bloom booster. Nothing on this list is. Number 4, vegetable peels. Potato peels, carrot tops, cucumber ends, squash trimmings, the woody bottom of an asparagus spear. This is the boring, unglamorous heart of the whole practice, and it's the stuff that works best. Vegetable peels are mostly water and soft plant tissue. No rind, no shell, no armor. That means microbes get straight to work, and buried peels can disappear within weeks in warm soil. What you get back isn't a spike of any one nutrient, it's humus. Dark, spongy organic matter that holds water, feeds fungi, improves drainage in clay, and improves retention in sand. This is the thing that actually separates a garden that thrives from one that limps. Not a magic mineral, but soil that's alive. Do it right. The smaller the pieces, the faster the return. Run peels through a food processor if you're impatient, or just chop them coarsely with a knife. Bury them 8 to 12 inches down and cover completely. If any scrap is peeking above the soil line, you've just built a buffet for the neighborhood possum. One warning, don't bury potato peels with eyes on them unless you want volunteer potato plants popping up in the middle of your lettuce next spring. Those eyes will sprout. Cut them out or accept your fate. Number 5. Onion and garlic skins. Those papery layers everybody sweeps off the cutting board and into the trash are worth more than they look. Onion and garlic skins are dry, light, carbon-rich material, which matters more than it sounds. Underground, decomposition works best when wet nitrogen-rich stuff is balanced with dry carbon-rich stuff. Wet scraps alone go slimy and anaerobic and smell like a garbage truck. Skins are the counterweight. They also contain flavonoids and sulfur compounds that break down into the soil as the tissue decomposes. You've probably heard that onions are bad for the garden. That claim comes from composting worm bins, where a heavy load of raw alliums can genuinely bother red wigglers in a confined plastic box. In open garden soil, at kitchen quantities, that's a non-issue. Your yard is not a shoebox. Do it right. Mix skins in with your wet scraps rather than burying a solid clump of them, since dry papery material on its own just sits there. If you keep a scrap bucket on the counter, throw the skins in as you go and let them ride along. Don't expect them to repel pests. That's another one of those claims that sounds plausible and has never been demonstrated. Number 6. Used tea leaves. About 3.7 billion cups of tea get consumed worldwide every day, so this is not a niche waste stream. Spent tea leaves are, functionally, a lot like coffee grounds, fine-textured, nitrogen-bearing, and already partially broken down by hot water. They bury well, they break down fast, and they feed the soil food web instead of the landfill. 2 important asterisks. First, the tea bag itself. A huge number of them are not what you think. Many paper bags are heat-sealed with polypropylene, and the fancy silken pyramid bags are frequently nylon or PET straight plastic. Bury those and you're planting microplastics. There are compostable bags out there, and there are plenty made of pure paper, but you can't tell by looking. Tear the bag open, bury the leaves, and check the box before you assume the bag itself is going anywhere. Second, the acidity claim. You will hear that tea acidifies soil for your azaleas and blueberries. The tannic acid in a spent tea leaf is not going to move the pH of a bed of dirt in any measurable way. Soil pH is buffered by minerals, and it does not care about your Earl Grey. If you actually need acid soil, that is elemental sulfur, and you do it after a soil test. Do it right. Slit the bag, dump the leaves, bury shallow, 3 or 4 inches is plenty for something this fine, and staple the bag to your grievance list. Number 7. Fruit cores and rinds. Apple cores, pear cores, melon rinds, pineapple tops, peach flesh, strawberry crowns, the mushy half of a mango. Sugary, soft, and packed with water. Underground, this stuff is rocket fuel for microbes. Simple sugars are the easiest possible thing for bacteria to eat, so a buried apple core sets off a population explosion of decomposers in the soil around it, and that microbial bloom is what pulls the rest of the buried material apart. Fruit waste buried about 10 inches deep in fall can be completely gone by the time the ground is workable in spring. That same sugar content is exactly why this one has rules. Fruit is the single most attractive thing in your kitchen bucket to rats, raccoons, opossums, skunks, and every dog on your street. Bury it shallow and something will dig it up, usually the night after you plant. 12 to 18 inches is not overkill. It's the difference between composting and setting a trap for yourself. Do it right. Cut chunky material down. A whole melon rind or a broccoli stalk takes far longer than a chopped one, so bury the chunky stuff in beds that are resting, not beds that are working. Fine material, coffee grounds, juicer pulp, food mill slurry disappears so fast that experienced gardeners dig it straight into active beds and even under berry bushes and fruit trees. Number 8, citrus peels, orange, lemon, lime, grapefruit. And yes, you are allowed to bury them. This is another myth that needs to die. The story goes that citrus is too acidic, that the D-limonene in the peel kills earthworms and sterilizes your soil. In a small enclosed worm bin, a big load of citrus is genuinely a bad idea. The oils are irritating in concentration, and worms in a bin cannot leave. In an open garden at the volume produced by a normal human being who eats normal amounts of fruit, it does not happen. The peel decomposes, the oils break down, and the soil goes on with its life. What citrus peels bring, they are tough, higher lignin, waxy cuticle, dense pith. They resist decomposition, which sounds like a downside and is actually useful. They are the slow-release brick in the wall, still feeding fungi long after the lettuce leaves are gone. Do it right. Chop them. A whole half-orange rind buried intact can still be identifiable months later, sitting there like a little leather bowl. Quarter-inch pieces disappear on a reasonable schedule. Mix them with softer, wetter scraps rather than burying a pile of pure peel. And no, they will not repel cats, and they will not repel aphids. Please stop buying that one. Number 9, corn cobs and husks. Every August, Americans go through an astonishing amount of sweet corn, and every cob and husk gets bagged and hauled to a landfill. Cobs are almost pure structural carbon, dense, fibrous, slow. Buried whole, a cob can persist for a year or more. That is not a flaw. Slow decomposing woody material buried in a trench creates air pockets and long-lasting organic structure in heavy soil, and it feeds fungal networks rather than bacterial ones. Fungi are what build stable, long-term soil carbon. Bacteria give you a quick flush. Fungi give you a soil bank account. Husks and silk go the other direction. They are thin and break down within a season. There is a real old version of this too. The practice of burying organic waste under planting mounds has been used across cultures for thousands of years, and burying kitchen and garden waste in a hole, then planting on top of it once it is settled, still works. Some gardeners dig a pit in spring, layer in kitchen waste, grass clippings, and pulled weeds, cover with mulch, and plant peppers in a ring around it. The buried mass doubles as a moisture reservoir in dry weather. Do it right. Break cobs into 2 or 3 pieces and bury them deep in a bed you are resting for the season, not one you are planting next week. Because they are so carbon heavy, bury them alongside nitrogen-rich material, such as coffee grounds, green trimmings, and vegetable scraps, or the microbes tearing them apart will pull nitrogen out of the surrounding soil while they work. Number 10, cooking water. This one costs you nothing but a minute of patience, and almost nobody does it. When you boil potatoes, pasta, broccoli, or corn, water-soluble minerals and starches leach out of the food and into the pot. Then you dump the whole thing down the drain. Potassium, magnesium, and starches, which, unlike the locked-up minerals in a raw peel, are already dissolved and immediately available to soil life. You've heard this framed as free fertilizer. Be realistic. It's dilute. It is not going to replace a fertilizer program. What it is? free water carrying free organic matter, and dissolved minerals delivered exactly where you want it, which beats sending it to a treatment plant. Same story for the water from hard-boiled eggs, which picks up a trace amount of calcium from the shells. Trace being the operative word. Do it right, and this matters. Let it cool completely first. Boiling water poured on soil kills roots and cooks the microbial community you've spent this whole video trying to build. And do not use salted water. Pasta water with a tablespoon of kosher salt in it is not fertilizer, it's a soil problem. Sodium accumulates, damages soil structure, and injures roots. If you salt the pot, and you should, for the pasta, the water goes down the drain. Unsalted veggie water, pour it right into your buried scrap zone. It'll speed up decomposition. Number 11, fish and shellfish scraps. We'll end with the oldest one on the list and the one with the strictest rules. Fish waste, that is heads, frames, guts, shrimp shells, and crab shells, is genuinely powerful. It's high in nitrogen and phosphorus, and it breaks down relatively fast. This is why commercial fish emulsion has been a legitimate product for over a century. The material works. Shellfish shells add calcium carbonate and chitin. And chitin is interesting stuff. It feeds soil organisms that also happen to attack the shells of certain plant parasitic nematodes and fungal pathogens. You've probably heard the story about Native Americans burying fish under corn mounds. Historians actually argue about how widespread that practice was, so treat the legend with a grain of salt. But the underlying agronomy is sound, and it has been used in coastal farming. Now the rules, because this is the one scrap on the list that can genuinely go wrong. Bury it deep, 12 to 18 inches minimum, and 18 is better. Fish is a beacon. Every raccoon, rat, skunk, fox, and dog within a quarter mile will find a shallow buried fish, and they will excavate your bed to get it. Bury it in the off-season, in a resting bed, and pack the soil down firmly on top. Do it right. Chop shells up. Don't bury a pile of intact crab claws, and never put fish anywhere near a bed you're about to plant. Let it break down for a couple of months first. The 5 things you should not bury. Quick, because this matters as much as the list above. Meat, bones, and dairy. Not the same as fish scraps buried 18 inches deep in winter. Those are a controlled exception. Casual meat and cheese burial in a home bed is how you get rats. And rats are a much bigger problem than a bag of fertilizer. Cooking oil and grease. Oil coats soil particles, repels water, and creates hydrophobic dead zones. It also goes rancid and stinks for a very long time. Anything salted or heavily sauced. Sodium doesn't decompose, it accumulates. Diseased plant material. Burying doesn't reliably kill pathogens the way a hot compost pile can. Trench composting is anaerobic. It uses microorganisms that work in under 5% oxygen, and it never gets hot enough to sterilize. Blighted tomato vines go in the trash. Same goes for anything loaded with weed seed. Black walnut shells. Black walnut produces juglone, which is toxic to tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, and a long list of other plants. Everything about the tree carries it. Hulls, shells, leaves, roots. Other nut shells are fine, but decompose glacially. Walnut is a hard no. None of this is a miracle. It's slow, it's unglamorous, and it won't fix a bed in a weekend. What it will do is build soil that keeps getting better every single year, for free, out of stuff you were already throwing away. Start with one hole this week, then tell me, what's the weirdest thing you've ever buried in your garden? Drop it in the comments, and if this was useful, hit that like button and subscribe. It's what lets us keep making these.